Welcome to the Windsurfing podcast, back again for episode 56. And this week, as you can tell, it's a little bit different. We are, of course, live. So anyone listening back to this, you won't get the full effect of what we're doing here. But we thought what we do is we'll go live. We've got the IQFoil Europeans coming up. We've had quite a lot of action over the winter. It's obviously a new discipline. There's been lots happening. We've seen foil and tacks all over the internet. We've seen some movers and shakers. We've seen rules trying to get changed. We've seen body shapes trying to maybe get bigger. So there's quite a lot to talk about. And I thought what I'd do is I'd get our resident podcast master, Mr. Maciek Rakowski, in, and I'm going to ask him some questions. You guys, obviously, at home can ask some questions, fire away. We've got a kind of list of topics we're going to go through and just kind of get the lowdown for people who haven't been following it that closely. I'll be honest, I've been a bit confused with how the IQ games and this and that, and I don't quite know. So I thought rather than me speak to Maciek on his own, I'll get him on the live, get you guys involved at all. So yeah, leave us a comment. So let's get him in here. Maciek Rakowski, can you hear me?
What's up? What's up, Ben? What's up, world?
How are we doing? Firstly, cheers for doing this, mate. And secondly, where are you? Tell people where you are now and what you've been doing. Maybe that's a good background check.
Yeah, I'm in Garda. Already preparing for the Europeans, which I guess we're gonna talk about on the IQ. As you can see, I took some sun today.
Me too.
So it's good. It's good. It's sunny. It's windy. I came at the perfect time. The boys been moaning that there's been rainy, and Garda can do that to you, like shut off for a week or 10 days straight, and just rain and no wind and whatever. So that's what it's been. And since yesterday, it's been sunny and windy. So it's great. And still got 6 days still racing. So yeah, still got some time to, still some hope to improve and see what's up. But I guess we're gonna talk a bit more about the winter, right? And what's been going on.
I mean, just like I kind of said it all in the intro, but for me, I don't want to say it's confusing, but it's a bit confusing. Looking from the outside to understand how the events work. I mean, I obviously, back in my day when I was a younger lad, I was doing the Olympic disciplines, and I know kind of roughly about it. But I think for your average Joe out there who maybe just wants to kind of get a grip of what's going on, tell them sort of how the tour works, if it is so, and then the kind of big events, which obviously Europeans, Worlds. Maybe just give us a bit of a rundown of how it works.
I'd be happy to tell you, but I don't really know myself. I mean, there's a bunch of events of different. I don't know if they have a different magnitude, different grade. They're definitely called different.
Hang on, I just want to maybe going to help you out here, because for the guys who are actually watching this on YouTube, not obviously the audio listeners, I just want to share a screen, because I think I've got the IQFoil website, and there was kind of a list of all the list on there. Is it this one? Let's have a look, see if this makes it a bit clearer. Oh, okay. No, it's a
yeah, you need to...
it's an Excel spreadsheet, obviously, so it's not going to be on
for
there.
People listening and not seeing. Ben just posted an XLS icon. Basically, it's an Excel file you can download from. But anyway, so there's a lot of events of IQFoil. They're all under the IQFoil class umbrella. I guess some sort of sanctioning going on. But there is events that are actually IQFoil games. I think they're like co-organized or co-hosted by the class, and we had those in Lanzarote, and there was one in Cadiz, which was a smaller one that not many of the top teams attended. And I think there's quite a few more down the line. And I think there was one in
what is the IQ Games? Because I kept seeing that. What is just an extra event?
Yeah, it's just an international. It's called IQFoil International Games. So it's basically like an international event. I think it's the idea behind it is that it's going to be sort of a world tour, and like quite a few people myself included, have kind of pushed for major events to be limited to maybe 100 people or 80 people or whatever. So then, these IQ games could be a qualifier or
Okay.
whatever. It's basically like a tour event.
So they're kind of
Uh,
setting the scene for a future, basically, kind of getting a few events, getting the organizers involved, laying it out, basically.
yeah, and there's
Does it
an
count towards a ranking?
there's a ranking. I think there's a separate world sailing IQ foil ranking, and there's a separate IQ foil games ranking. Um, and yeah, basically the guys that did a lot of the events are doing good. I know Mateus Isaac was leading for a while because he did on top of the European event, he also did like an event in Miami, and I
Okay.
think another event in South America. So then, it was a lot more points.
But do people care about those rankings, or is it all about the Europeans of the world? So, I mean, I know when I did it, the governing bodies that fund a lot of the Olympic riders, they're just literally looking Europeans, worlds, games.
Yeah,
That's it.
basically, I can't speak for everybody, but most of the guys I know, how their federations work, because obviously we need to realize that all the Olympic stuff is founded by taxpayer money. So then that money, it kind of gets, you get selected to your national team based on usually 2 3 major events, and
Okay.
and these events for us, um and I think it's the same in many teams. You need to be top 10, top 8, top 6 at either worlds or Europeans to get the kind of highest level funding.
Yeah.
um so yeah, so these are the main events, and the rest of them, yeah, they're important or whatever. People still look at them, and people, like the Lanzarote event and Mallorca and stuff was quite, quite a lot of people, but it's
Yeah.
more training events in my mind, at least. It's always just those events, like we did the Olympic week in Hyères in France, like 2 3 weeks ago. That was clearly just training for the Europeans.
So maybe people not showing their top game, maybe in a few races, sandbagging a bit, or is it not kind of like that? They're trying out different foils, and this
I,
sometimes.
you're not supposed to try different foils.
Okay.
It's not scrutinized as hard as worlds and Europeans. So maybe people are. I didn't use my best gear in
Okay.
the air, but so different things.
Okay.
And there's, yeah. So we mentioned the IQ foil games. Then there was this on RSX. They used to have a couple World Cups, and it was usually Mallorca, Hyères, Medemblik in Holland, I think
Yeah.
Kiel
Olympic
in
week.
Germany. Yeah. So now somehow there's one World Cup, I think, in the calendar, and that's Mallorca, and that was in March, in April.
Okay.
So it's a little bit weird in that sense as well. And then whatever is not IQ Games and is not a World Cup is basically Olympic week. Um, so
Okay.
yeah,
So
it is a
just
little
for
bit
people at
confusing.
home, I mean, I used to do it, so I kind of know. But the Hyères week, the Medemblik, the Kielavoca were all boats. Every Olympic class it was like a mini Olympics in one country. So there wasn't just one Polish rider, one Brit, male, one Brit. It was everyone, but it was still every class, for all the
Yeah.
Olympic boat classes. So that doesn't happen anymore with the IQ involved, apart from in
No, it does. It does. It does. It's just that some of those Olympic weeks that you mentioned, they evolved into World Sailing World Cups, which had a little bit of prize money, and this kind of supposed to be
okay,
like a top league. But for
okay,
IQ foil, I think there's only one, and that's Mallorca, and the rest of them are just Olympic week status, which I don't really know what what that means, but it basically is just events, and who shows up and who doesn't really determines the value of it. I believe, and obviously we talk to each other. We know which team is going where, and we
yeah.
kind of gang up on some of those events to kind of have them you know, more, let's say, contested than others, for sure.
Okay, so who over the winter, obviously things are evolving, I guess. I mean, I haven't been following it too closely, but evolving quite quickly. Movers and shakers, who has kind of stepped up over the winter? Anyone kind of standing out that they've improved a lot? Any guys still there? You know, what? Who are the main players and kind of more of the movers as well, though?
Yeah, I think you gotta mention in 2020 and sorry, in 2021, even going back to 2020, the new Olympic class has been pretty much dominated by Nico Goyard on the men's side and Helen Neusmann on the women's side. They've basically won everything that really matters.
Yeah.
In that discipline, and that hasn't really changed. I mean, we just had the year event and they absolutely dominated there as well, so if we had betting, we should definitely pencil those two in for a good result, whatever, probably
They're kind of the gold standard. That's still the benchmark, those two.
yeah, these two are definitely benchmarks. But nobody's been sleeping over the winter, and there's a couple people. I mean, on the men's side, I mean, like Luke van op Zeeland has been, anytime he's competed, he's been top 3, top 4,
Yeah.
and he probably has the speed, especially upwind, to win.
Is that his major? What would you say his big force is? The speed. That's where it's at.
Speed. He's good tactically. People get hung up because he's a big dude. He's like, I don't know, 195 and like 100 kilo. People get hung up on how big he is, or sometimes how fat he is, or whatever. But actually, he's really good and really also nimble for his size. He's tacking very good. He's jibing good, and his first upwind is kind of, he's always up there. So tactically, obviously, something's working there, and if we stick to the Dutchies, they have a pretty strong team. I mean, this tough name, Jan Tak. It took me like 2 years to get it right. Howie, we call him. He won the second Lanzarote event. We had 2 events in Lanzarote, then an event in Mallorca, Cadiz, and Yer. So he won that second one, and
he's been knocking on the door, isn't he? I keep seeing him up there. He's been knocking on the door. I was kind of thinking maybe it was time he could win one.
Yeah, no, he's definitely fast, and he's got like a good mindset as well. He's super relaxed. He's like, when IQFoil came, he was already out of the Dutch team for RSX, because he comes from RSX, and he was doing Kona racing and things like that, and then he told someone, I'm just gonna try it, maybe I'll be just a weekend warrior, get a job and just do it for fun, and he's up there, it definitely suited him for whatever reason. And yeah, and he's definitely quick. You hate to see him around you on the course, because he's quick, he's pumping good, he's doing good decisions. It takes like the whole package to do well, in slalom too. That's a lot of the RSX people. It took them a while to get accustomed to slalom style racing, which we're doing in light wind. So Howie definitely did, and yeah, one to watch out for sure.
Just I mean, from the things I've seen Andy Brown. He looked, again, I haven't
He
followed
won Mallorca. Yeah, he won
Mallorca, exactly. What else have I seen up there? Like, there's been a few names where it kind of popped in. They've been around that top 10 from what I saw from Silver Planner and stuff, but I've seen a few of them pushing up towards the top. Have we seen? I mean, this is a big topic. I mean, equipment changes. I know it's one design, and that's going to freak a few people out at home. They're going to be like, Ben, it's one design. There can't be equipment changes. But I know from just doing Mistral one design, which was just a plank, and there wasn't much aerodynamics going on, and you boys are on foils now, and the millimeter of difference could make a difference. What are we seeing there with the foils? What's happening? I mean, you tell me from your point of view, because obviously we're not involved with the class, so we can kind of say it as it is. I mean, what's going on?
Yeah, I think very early everybody recognized that that it's not. Yeah, I don't want to like badmouth anybody or whatever, and I didn't do RSX, so I don't know if it's better or worse or the same or whatever. But very quickly everybody realized that the parts actually differ.
They will.
And,
I can't see this.
and because it's and because it's one design, every little you know, like if you had it open, let's say, the differences are bigger, so you don't. It's like every little percentage matters, right?
Yeah.
Because if you put, you know, 10 of 0.5% differences around, all of a sudden it's in such a tight fleet, you know, you go to the upwind mark, and probably in 10 meters you fit 30 guys, you know, sometimes. So
small things. I mean, just
yeah,
a comment coming through from Christoph there says, which I kind of understand what he's saying about the main materials. So, example, how much percentage does the board matter? How much does the foil matter? How, you know, what is the foil literally everything, or is the sail coming into it? Because I know in one design, Mistral sails, sometimes the stitching on a sail could be a millimeter to one, and it would be good on one tack. Is that still a thing? I mean, does that type of thing
for sure you're not going to go anywhere without a good foil. That's for sure, right? But the sails, you need to feel comfortable. It needs to be, you know, soft enough to pump and breathe, stiff enough to hold up in the gusts. It needs to, you know, your mast needs to feel comfortable. It needs to cover a big range. You know,
how long does
boards.
these lasted? I mean, I know in Mistral, and again, I can only compare it to that. You know, that they had a lifespan, you know, because you're pumping, you're giving it hell. It's in the sun for whatever week, and then it would obviously stretch. Sometimes that could make it a bit better in certain conditions, but then there would be a point where you needed something new. I mean, have you got a stack of sails? Is that how it works, or you have a special sail?
Yeah, let's say that you're not gonna see anyone of the top guys using a used sail here in this event.
Okay.
And people got stacks. And then they choose, you know, out of, I don't know, between 2 and 5 brand new ones, they would choose one for this event, and then retest it later on, you know, to see if the used one that they like the most is still the best one. Yeah, they do get used up. They, you know, there's a lot of pumping going on, and yeah, and as you know, sometimes the sail is better when in some, it used to be like, I don't know, some sails, they used to be better when they stretch in or whatever. Here it's not the case, you know. Probably you get the most crispy acceleration and feel out of a brand new sail. You know, unfortunately, foil parts, especially foil masts, you know, you can imagine there's so much pressure on the thing. They also, you know, they also don't last all that much. Foil boxes in the boards, same thing, you know. It's
brutal, isn't it? Olympic windsurfing or foiling now, it is brutal. I mean, it has to be. I mean, it's just such at the high end of that sport. And I have to say this for people who are maybe thinking of buying IQ4 stuff. We're talking about the top of the top, where, as Maciek said, 5 meters could make a huge difference. Like you say, 10 meters, 20 meters. Whereas when you're racing at a lower level or blasting around your local lake or going on long distances, that type of difference is not going to affect you guys. So don't maybe listen to what Maciek's saying and apply it to you with gear. You don't need 5 sails. You don't need to be picking the newest sail to go out on. But when we're talking at the high end of Olympic windsurfing, you know,
don't listen to me. No, but what I want to say is that it also comes from the fact that the gear is really easy. so it covers up a lot of the differences in 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 technique. I don't want to say, like, I don't want to sound bad or whatever, or to kill somebody's skill. It's not the case. It's just that sometimes somebody's style or technique is better fitted to some
Yeah.
sort of gear. But this gear is so easy and so kind of plug and play that everybody goes relatively okay. So then again, those differences in the gear are accentuated, if that makes sense, because again, you're trying to find little bits and pieces here, because if you get off the start, if you're in front, then you can actually perform. And if you get stuck somewhere behind somebody that's pointing really high, and you can't really go up to your speed, or you get in dirty air, which is the worst case scenario, then you can't really. So it's quite important to get the gear right.
Okay, give me some names. I want to know, because again, I'm going back to my old times and thinking there'll be a few guys who point just ridiculously high and they make it work. Then you've got the guys that upwind are freeing off more but going bullet fast. Have you got people like that in the fleet that you just know off your head? Like, I don't want to be. Give me some names. It'd be interesting to hear.
Generally, the lighter guys, they they kill the equipment much more, because they need to kind of anti-leverage it, if you know what I mean. They
Yeah,
kind of
okay.
need to lean against it much more, so they would point
What's,
much
hang on,
more.
just for people at home. So you're saying when you're lighter, the faster you go, the more lift you create, and if you're lighter, it's harder to keep it down. I'm guessing. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so the lighter guys. So when it started, when the IQFoil thing started, I was lighter than I am now. I was probably like 90, 91 kilo, and I felt way too heavy for light medium wind racing, because everybody was pointing super high and nobody was really going for speed. But as time progressed, everybody realized that the best VMG of that gear is not actually going straight into the wind, but is going a little bit freer, probably, 4 or 5 degrees less than the maximum angle, and going super fast. So if you see the guys up front racing, it's usually it's people that go quite broad and fast, and
Okay.
maybe get a lot of lift, and by the end of the straight of the how you say of the run, they'll get lifted just out of the sheer speed they have. So Nico Goyard, that's his style, go fast, go for speed, and if you need to point because somebody is in front pointing, then you pump, or you just shoot below and live with it. So
Hang
most
on,
of the top
VMG.
guys.
Bring back VMG for people. VMG.
Velocity made good. So that's
Okay.
how fast you're moving towards your target, which is
Gotcha.
upwind or downwind, right? Straight upwind or straight downwind. Um, so yeah, so it's just it pays off better with this particular gear to go
Okay.
for speed. But in order to do that, you need to first get out of the start. You need clear wind. You need a lot of things need to happen. Everybody pumps like motherfuckers of the start, um, and by pumping, you generally go high. You point higher, but you go slightly slower. Because you can't really put the power down. So it's like everybody does this. Everybody runs the line full speed at 1 second to the start, do this kind of foil turn, which lifts them, which gives you actually a lot of acceleration through the line, start pumping, get high, 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 and then start going for speed.
Yeah. So,
So
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm bloody hell. I mean, it looks pretty hectic. Many crashes, because I have seen a few. I've seen a few videos. I won't lie.
Yeah, no, there is it, it happens so fast that it's, yeah, it's bound to happen, right? And a lot of I think you lose a lot by tacking, So if it's a short race or if the right side of the course is good or whatever, you're gonna start on port.
Okay.
But then a lot of the guys that want to take it safe, they would start on starboard tack. But in the end, like in Yare, for example, it's known widely that throughout like the right side, like in with Mistral wind, so with west wind, you have to go to the right side of the course. That's everybody knows that for since 20 years, you know, all the boats, everybody. So
Yeah.
so you start on port, and you try to hit that right corner, you know, and then there will be guys, you know, there will be maybe 10 guys out of the 60 or 70 starting on starboard tack, and there is this group mentality that the bigger group has the right of way, sort of.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes you have somebody right in front of you're on port tack, somebody is right in front of you below you, so you don't see shit, you know. um and the starboard tack guy is gonna come, and he has the right of way, and rightfully so, he's not gonna give way. um so it happens, and luckily it never happened to me. Luckily you can bear off, you can slow down, you can quite radically. So you know, if you see if you're in port tack and you see, you're able to avoid. And yeah,
Any big crashes? Like how much damage are we talking? Because I can imagine if you get hit by a
gear.
foil, is gone, isn't it? It's done.
Yeah, boards cut in half, foils broken, things like that. And it sucks because you've gone through, you know, I've now gone through, I don't know, 8 sails, 12 masts,
Jeez.
God knows how many foils, whatever, to select my racing gear. And
And then someone just T-boned you.
yeah, and then if you crash, you know, and the gear gets damaged or it breaks just by itself, it's fucking sucks, you know. It sucks.
Yeah. Whoa. Okay. So we've got a couple of comments coming in. Simon, is it Simon? Saying what shims are you using? I'm guessing he's talking about the shims inside the toggle box. Is that a shim? Is that what shims we're talking
There's
about?
2 shims, yeah. There's a shim inside the throttle box, um which kind of moves the rake of the mast. So what you measure is the angle between the fuselage and the bottom of the board.
Okay.
And the more the fuselage, you have to remember, you have to kind of think that it always runs um at the same, let's say, how to say, parallel. The
Okay.
fuselage always, so the wings will be always in the same position. So if you
Okay.
change the rake of the mast to the board, or of the fuselage to the board, it's actually going to lift your nose or drop your nose lower, um
How do
to
you
the
measure
surface
that?
of the water.
Just
You have a level box, like a digital level box or a digital pitch gouge, and you place it on the bottom of the board. You hit 0, and then you place it on the fuselage, and it shows you the difference.
okay.
So there's actually tools for it. You can actually, there's apps on for the phone too. If you put level box, I think, or I don't know what they're called. I actually don't use one. I use a tool, but there's apps for your phone that you can.
Is am I right in saying you've got like a helicopter one? Is that right, for model helicopters?
I have a one for, yeah, for remote helicopter models, for because they have to set their blades very precisely.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. Sorry, mass-based position. Another question. I guess we've got an
quite far
IQ4.
back. Everybody's
When we
using.
say back, are we talking over the hole?
Yeah, probably in light wind it will be over the hole, and then, you know, definitely first quarter from the back. That's
Okay.
definitely where everybody is. Yeah.
Okay. Another couple of questions coming in. The same guy says, "What speed average are you getting upwind, downwind, and a slalom?" That's a good question. I've just got to put something in here. I've just got a foil. So I thought, oh, I'll just go out. You know, I saw the girls doing over 30 knots, posting all over Instagram. I thought, I'll just go and smash out some speeds. Like, scared shitless, 23 knots. I'm like, I'm not on a camp and sail or a race sail or anything, but still, I was thinking, you boys, I'm guessing, the girls are going over 30 knots. The guys are going, what, 34? 33,
Yeah,
30?
but that's on slalom gear. That's on
Okay,
very small wings, 400 square centimeter wings, 500 square centimeter wings. IQ
okay.
foil, you have to remember the front wings 900 square cm.
Yeah, that's what I.
So like Nico hit 30 31, I think, or 32 in
Okay,
Silva Plana, but that's like the fastest lake with the least amount of chop and good
okay,
wind and whatever, here in Garda, yesterday I didn't have my watch on today, but yesterday I was doing like 28 downwind.
okay.
um so I think that's kind of decent. I mean, I lined up with some guys and nobody was really quicker. So yeah, probably if
Okay,
you're
so
doing 28
28 downwind,
downwind, yeah.
upwind.
Upwind, it really depends. And
28.
looking at your GPS, yeah, looking at your GPS velocity, looking at your GPS speed, um, on the upwind is tricky because you can just bear off and go faster.
Yeah,
So you can go straight upwind at whatever 12 knots, and you can hit 22 if you bear off enough. So
yeah.
that's really really tricky.
Okay, that's interesting though. Like it's good. It's good. I like those benchmarks to have in your head what the top guys are doing because obviously you guys are the top of the top. So if you're just a normal guy going out in a full, it's nice to know those kind of levels. I think that's pretty cool. Otis said, "Should I put a foil in my board?" Well, it
Yeah,
depends on your foil on your box, I guess, if it can handle it. What else? We've got a few more questions coming in.
velocity and upwind with medium. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
tricky.
so that like again, another question: what's a good velocity for upwind with medium? Which I'm guessing it, like Macho just said, it all depends on your angle. Upwind. I mean, as an idea, what do you aim for? If you got like it doesn't work like that. You just go on the race and how everyone else is looking. I guess it
And
changes.
it depends so much on the spot as well. Like freshwater spots are faster, flat water spots are faster. You get a gust, you accelerate by 2 knots. It's just GPS speeds are so tricky. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we've got
Yeah,
another
so
question.
that's another question about like how to measure mast angle, and if we're using shims. Yes, we are using shims, um to put in between the mast and the top of the box, and we use either like a level box, digital level box, or a digital pitch gauge to gouge. I don't know how you pronounce that too. um to measure. And somebody else asked about shims, and there's also shims for the tail wing in the starboard IQFoil. You have those, the way to change the back wing tail wing angle is with shims. So most guys use 0 and plus 0.5, which actually amounts to like, 0 is actually like 1.8 or 2 degrees, something like that.
I'll
So
tell you what, after my limited experience the other day with this simmer wing, it's got like a where you can move the back wind, but it kind of goes up. The difference is just
huge.
insane.
No,
Insane.
that's why
If
you
you,
need the tool. That's why you need the tool, because
yeah,
without the tool you can't see it. You can't see like half a degree. How you gonna able how do you
yeah.
want to see it? So yeah, so
Yeah, so
it's
I mean, just anyone who's listening who's into foiling, or maybe they're not racing, they haven't got a tool. I can definitely tell you, you move your back wing or you shim it a little bit. The difference on the lift is just for me. It was just a massive, like, oh, gold. Okay, I thought I'll just move it half a bit, no tool or anything. I'm jumping out the water. It's crazy. So I might have to get myself a tool, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, and if you can't get the pitch gouge that allows you to slide it into the tail wing, what you can do is you can take a caliper and drill, like when the jaws of the caliper are closed, you drill a hole in them, so then you can kind of put the caliper onto the wing, and it sort of holds in place, right? With
Okay.
those little half holes, let's say, yeah, because you drilled as it was closed, so you get like a half a circle on each jaw of the caliper. So
Okay.
then you use the caliper to put on the wing, and you put the level box on top of the caliper. So that's a little bit more convoluted way, I guess.
I think we need to make a video, Magic, because even I'm confused, and I feel like I would like to. There's definitely some sneaky stuff going on, and more. The guys that are measuring are on it, which I'd say Nico is one of them. I always remember turning up to Costa Brava one year, and him and his brother Thomas were 3D printing shim boxes, and this was I don't know how many years ago. So they were pretty much well into it. Sarah Jackson, is that a compliment, Ben? Yes, it is. I didn't realize how fast 30 knots was on a foil. I do now. Impressive stuff. Girls, impressive stuff. I saw Blanca as well.
Yeah, I saw Sarah exploding yesterday quite nicely. She's here. So
good. Only kidding. If you have just tuned in, we're doing a bit of a live podcast this week. Europeans for IQFoil class coming up in 6 days. 5, 6? 6 days, Magic, something like that.
6 days. Yeah, sorry, I was just reading.
So 6 days. Everyone's getting into it. We've got, like I say, we've got the usual suspects. Nico Goya, I'm guessing he's there. Helena, I don't want to say her name wrong.
Noisman, right? Noisman.
Noes Moan. Apparently, I've got to say it wrong.
Yeah.
I'm so used to saying Noisman. She's like,
I should probably ask her. Yeah.
Yeah, Noes Moan. But those two are definitely the two that everyone are hunting down, but we do have new people coming in. I want to ask you, what about the Olympians who didn't have a chance to train? I mean, this is a kind of a sad story, really, because of COVID, because the Olympics got sort of slowed down and they had to delay. They had to stay on the on the RSX, while everyone else was having fun on the IQFoil, getting better, tuning in, and they had to stick on the RSX until the Olympics. So they were kind of playing catch up. Have we seen Kieran Badlow, for example, Emma Watson? Are these guys and girls and anyone who's crossed over into the IQFoil from RSX, have they caught up now? Are we seeing signs that they're going to cause some problems, or are they still, I don't know, catching up? Again, I haven't quite followed that.
Yeah, they definitely sound like they're catching up in terms of like that they have catching up to do from what they've been saying and from the body types and what trying to gain weight and etc etc. I mean, Kieran was in Mallorca, and apparently he was going good, but then he quit like the majority of the races, so then he was in Silver Fleet. So I'm not sure if that's a sign of that's definitely not a sign of his actual level, but nobody really knows where he is. Maybe aside of the guys that have been training with him. Other guys, I mean, Thomas Goyard is up there. He's been in the games. You mentioned Emma. She was doing very good in one of the Lanzarote events. So they're around, but what you got to realize, it's a different sport almost. I mean, so it's there has to be. I kind of feel sorry for people that are kind of stuck in this system, because you're just at mercy of somebody making a decision, and your whole life might change, depending if you're like, I don't know, super skinny and you can't gain weight, you're fucked now. Or if you're, or before, if you were like a brick shit house, that's how you say, I think, you were fucked before, and some of the guys like Helen, for example, she was probably nowhere like near qualifying to the Olympics, on RSX, and now she's dominating the sport. So so it is a little tricky.
Things and roundabouts. Again, like when I did Mistral, I think the optimum weight was 68 kilos. For RSX, it was basically tall and skinny. As far as I can remember. Obviously, for certain conditions, if it was super windy, obviously a bit more weight would be useful. What are we saying? Because it probably is changing. What is the optimum body type weight? Is there one size? Is there like a perfect human for the IQFoil? What if it is? How is that kind of progressing? Because I'm looking at Andy Brown. He's not a big fella, in terms of height, but he's filling out a bit. I saw some stuff from Kieran Badlow, looked like he'd been eating a few more pies since the RSX days. Then you see, Luke van Op Zeeland, he's a big lad, isn't he? A lot of the girls who came from RSX who did well in the wind on RSX seem to be doing well, would be a fair point on the IQFoil now. Helena, she would dominate, from what I heard, the windy RSX races, and now, she's dominating the IQFoil stuff. What is the optimum size? Give me some figures.
I think it's quite wide, and it's nice. I think in RSX was at in the end it was like between 72 and 76 kilos, so and between 188 and 195 or whatever, so here it's you got guys like Andy Brown and Nico Renna, which are quite relatively short guys, for sure not small in terms of weight. I think to be competitive you gotta be like 85, probably around 85 kilo, and then all the way up to like Luke van Op Zeeland, who's well in the 100 kilo range and is like 190, 195 or something, so
that's pretty good. I would say, like, as an Olympic class compared to older windsurfing Olympic classes, this is actually a really good spread of different body shapes, sizes.
Yeah, because it's there's different formats, and there's different ways you can go about it, but definitely everybody's bulking. That's definite. At the beginning, I felt too heavy, and now I'm in the average. So, and I'm like 93, 94 maybe. So maybe not in the average, still on the heavy side, but if you see like the top 10, 15 at any given event, it's probably guys between 85 and 100 kilo, so it's still a good spread. I'd say let's see, maybe you're gonna have to be 100 soon, but I doubt it, because it's still there's still a lot of light wind going on. So,
and what is the light wind? I mean, obviously RSX or Mr. One Design or Lechner or whatever, it was really, really light. What is IQFoil? Are the Peterway boys moaning, crying, or is it acceptable for you? Because I know that's usually what I've been to events. The old Olympic guys and girls are like, yeah, it's fine, and the Peterway boys and girls are like, oh, I don't know about this. What's
when you grow up watching events in Pozo and Fuerte and stuff, you don't get very excited to race in 5 to 8 knots, upwind, downwind, or even if it's slalom, it has an open downwind now in the IQFoil. So there's a lot of pumping, and there's a lot of sometimes you stop, like one race in the air, I just dropped off the foil, and nothing I can do about it. But definitely there is no, either it's my perspective because I got better in the light stuff, or everybody's gained weight, because I felt sometimes we were on the edge of racing where I couldn't even like get on the foil, and that's like, I don't know, 5 knots or whatever, and now I feel like I think both things happen. So there is definitely light wind racing. I think the official limit is 5 knots, but it's not crazy. I don't know. It is crazy. If you put an average PWA guy, he wouldn't probably come to the beach on the light days, and it's
the idea is you do light wind slalom, so you haven't got the whole massive start line and people getting dirty air. It's a slalom start, it's downwind, so in theory, once you're up on the foil, as long as you don't make mistakes, you should be able to stay there. And the mistakes are punished even more so in light winds, or you have to pump to keep on the foil. You see guys without a sail pumping, so you can do it just with the foil, but it's so physical. And I guess that's where the whole I can see the arguments either, but it's interesting to see. I think that answers wind minimum 5 knots by the sounds of it, on the edge, totally. Wiki says, is gear tuning for you really fun or simply a necessity?
Normally, it's really fun. Normally, like
Really? Oh man.
developing no normally developing gear is super fun because you get to learn about concepts and what does this, what does that, and it's all kind of a puzzle to figure out. When you have to test 7 of the same IQFoil front wings or whatever, it's not that fun because you feel like you've been punked, like you feel like, why, it's supposed to be one design, but it is what it is. So it's, I guess, a necessity, and you're happy to go fast, and you're happy to improve, and then if it comes through, like, in a result, you're like, okay, I did all this work for something.
Is it like Kelly Slater or Mick Fanning, where they have a magic board? Do you have a magic foil? And you're like, I'm keeping this, baby. Or because I always had this problem. Just give you an idea here. So Mr. One Design, we'd have some people go, right, that's my racing board, that's my racing sail, and then you train on all the other stuff, and then you go on the other thing, and you think, well, surely I have to train on the sail or the board. But does it work like that? Have you got like training and racing stuff? Does it affect your mental state as well? I don't know. Like, it was quite interesting. Do you see what I mean? Oh, we seem to have lost him. Well, hopefully you guys can still hear me. I'm the one with no information on the foiling, though, so really we can do with him coming back. But we'll, like I said, I'll go through a few of these questions. Let's see if I can answer any of them. A lot of questions, obviously, about the foiling tack. We are going to come to that because obviously that is a hot topic at the moment. I was waiting for it. It's like you just think that has to happen. At some point, the foiling tack has to happen. When is it going to happen? Well, it's happening now. Is it happening in races? That is what I was going to ask Matt Check. And how much difference is it going to make? That's going to be the question. How much difference will it make to those upwinds? Because when you watch the videos, in fact, if you haven't seen a foiling tack, I'm going to try, which failed before, but I will try and show one just from Instagram at the moment, if people are keen to see it. Hopefully we'll get Matt Check back after a bit, but Windsurfing.TV Instagram, I think he's back, but I'm just going to share this screen with you. So which is the, and again, which one is the first foiling tack? So that was pretty, that's pretty sweet. And now I'm thinking the smiley. I'm just going to see if we can get Matt Check back just while we're here. Are you back, mate?
Yeah, I'm back. As
Okay.
it goes, like, I've been here for 3 days and the connection never went out, and now
we're talking foiling tacks in case you missed it. Obviously, there's a few online. This one's from Dunk Mohan. And then who was the first foiling tack? We should really get to that because I've got a lot of stuff on here. Apologies. I think this guy, isn't it? Is this Harry Joyner?
Yeah, I have no idea, but this is the first one I saw. And this one looks like he has a freaking engine on his foil or something. I mean, this one, the amount of speed he carries to the tack, yeah, is
I mean, let's just check this. That is ridiculous. Round the leeward mark. I mean, that is as good as any friggin' jibe, isn't it? Look at that.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, looking at the technique wise, again, I went out the other day after watching these and thought, I've never really tacked a foil. I thought I'll try a foiling tack. Nowhere close. But it was quite exciting tacking a foil. But I look at just how far his feet are back, obviously, to keep the foil flying. When he steps round, he's just right at the back, leaning everything back. Have you tried any foiling tacks? Obviously you have.
I tried some today. I knew this is going to come up, so I tried some today. I managed to one time get around foiling, like, but I didn't manage to keep it foiling through the cam flip and stuff. But I tried maybe like 6 or whatever, and just one time I managed to get around foiling. But it's when I first saw those, I was like, both of those that you saw first were kids, right?
Yes.
Um, so you're like, okay, they're lighter, they're nimbler, whatever, But then I saw this from Amado,
Damn, that's that
and
excuse
I'm
out the
like,
window.
no, no, it's not. It's not about excuses. It's just you wonder if it's possible, right?
Yeah.
With with 15 kilo more and whatever. But yeah, but now what's interesting about this one is if you look at the angle of entry, he's actually going crosswind. So that
Yeah,
means that means you need a lot of speed, right, to carry
I
through.
was
And I
thinking
talked to
though,
him
round the
today.
leeward mark,
eh,
round the bottom mark, I get it. But obviously, from a beating position going upwind tack, are we going to see plain tacks? I haven't seen one from upwind to upwind. I don't
Yeah,
think
not
we're going
yet.
to see upwind
But
to
it's
upwind
just,
yet.
yeah, it's just an evolution. And the question is, if even if you can manage to do it from a reach, is it maybe worth to bear off and do it in some situations or whatever? um I don't know, but definitely something to watch out for. I mean, this event is, I don't think we're going to see many yet, but I think once this happened through the summer, everybody's going to be on it, to
Yeah.
try to do them and try to figure it out. Like, I remember, as a PWA background person, I focused, the first things that came to my mind was how to get the gear better, how to go faster and whatever. And then I arrived to an event and everybody was barely touching down on the tacks, doing jibes super good, and everything was, they were on it.
Yeah.
So now I think the same thing will happen, that they will just spend hours and hours and hours, and people will do those foiling tacks.
We do have to remember, though, Amado Vrieswijk, who's on your screen now, is just an insane, obviously, he's world champion, freestyle, European champion. He's pretty much done it all now. So he's definitely got the skills, but we're going to see it, aren't we? It's going to be
What's
one
really sick about this one is the new front foot. It's
yeah.
just in the strap. Boom.
I was thinking that just straight in, power on, bosh.
Yeah.
Marvin.
And he actually didn't go with the new back foot so far back.
Yeah.
He
It's
just
almost just
carried.
leaning, just pulling up with the base, it looks like.
Yeah.
He comes
And
round.
this looks a lot more functional than the other ones, to me, because you have the foot in the strap and you're kind of safe.
Yeah.
The other one, the previous one, he's kind of wobbling out of it, like, and like going up and down and whatever. Here he's just putting the power on.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I asked him, hey, so it took you one day? He's like, yeah, it took me one morning. Basically, the fucker just tried it and
That's
made it.
Amado, though. I mean, I remember watching him as a young kid when I went to Bonaire to comment on the World Cup, and he was just literally like a kid, and he was just busting out everything. And someone would say something, he'd go out, and oh, there we go, I've just done it. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
he's pretty good. Right, a few more questions just while we're here. I'm gonna take that screen sharing off because it's making me a bit hypnotized. For anyone who's just listened to the audio, we've just been obviously playing Amado Vrieswijk, playing foiling tack, plus the other boys as well, Harry and Dunk. What's this? With how much wind do you release the foot of the back foot strap while going downwind? So when you're going downwind, we're talking downwind, not reaching. You're back foot out or back foot in the foot strap?
I'm actually like, I still carry my back foot straps, which some people don't for course racing even. Some people just use their front foot strap for course racing, so then there's no back foot strap to go downwind at all. In easy conditions, when I don't need to go to like super broad downwind or whatever, I'd keep it in. Sometimes if it's easy, if it's not super windy, not super wavy, whatever, but majority of the times it's out. And this starboard IQ foil board, FMX has one as well. It has this uh, kind of bump in the middle, so you can place your toes on the bump and push against it. You can place, if it gets, if you want to get the foot further in, you can place your heel against it. So there's a couple options there. And yeah, and downwind, yeah, I'd say just release your harness lines, make them long, and yeah, go for
Okay,
it.
question. How long? Because again, I haven't done much foiling. I won't lie to you. I've been wave sailing a lot, doing everything else, but I haven't been foiling. Probably going to do more foiling now because I feel like I need to get back up to speed. I go through cycles. It's terrifying. Like when you watch you boys, it doesn't look terrifying. When you're on the thing, it's freaking terrifying. So how long are your harness lines? I remember Nico Goya in the Deafy Wind, and I had a massive shock because I remember when it first came out, everyone was talking about short lines. He had some that, no joke, looked like 40s. Like they made my 34s on my wave sailing kit look short.
Yeah,
What are you
no, it's definitely
running?
moved that way. Like I was using when it first came out, the IQ, I was using like the ones I use in slalom, which are 28, 34.
Yeah,
And now when I get on them, I feel way too short,
yeah,
way too short. So we use the ones with the cleat
yeah.
that they go from, I think they go from 26 to like 50 inches or whatever.
Yeah, they're
Um,
massive, like stirrups for a horse. They're
yeah,
like,
like if you release them all the way, I can't reach the boom. Um, so now I'm using very long, well in the 40-inch range for downwind, and upwind also a little bit longer, maybe around 34, 32, something like that,
really?
and
And
then
that's
reaching also on the longer side of things. It just increases control. That was always in slalom sailing as well. If you look at Fuerte or Pozo old pictures, guys trying to get in control and trying, their asses are out, and the the arms are extended, um and it's kind of the same thing, here you want to go as fast as you can, so the foil starts lifting. You want to get some control, you want to put the power down, you want to still keep the sail as vertical as possible, because this is how, how you say, the airflow of the sail is the best aerodynamically. um, but you wanna lean against that leverage. So yeah, long lines. Bottom line, long
Hey, it
lines.
looks like I need to get some new harness lines. Any particular makes making it? Is that a French compass or didn't they go?
There's a Polish one. I think it's
Hey,
very simple. Harnessline.com or harnesslines.com. And
ring me.
yeah, and
I'll do
they're
a review.
yeah, it's just a big cleat, and a rope, and you can just, yeah, there's a
Yeah, so I
lot.
used to use them again with Mistral. I know the New Zealanders used to make them, and then I had a friend actually start making them. But then they kind of went out of fashion, and then I kind of, like I said, I saw Nico in the Deafy Win Superstars, and I was like, okay, they're coming back now,
Yeah.
And because the difference, like I say, from 40 plus down to whatever, it's massive, and it's easy to adjust, aren't they? They're super easy.
Yeah, they're a little bit. They can be a little bit hard at first to be accurate with, but then you get used to it. So I like it to be able to be accurate with, with releasing it, and with the button you are able to release, half an inch if you wanted to.
Yes.
Here you actually got to pull it down and then
Yeah.
release it. So it takes a little bit more time, but yeah.
For anyone listening, basically, or for even watching, talking about like a metal clam cleat, it is with a little roller on it. I would pull it up, but I'll probably spend too far looking for it. Steve Williams, how many sailors are pulling off the foil tack? From what I've seen online, 3.
I
Any more?
haven't seen any live,
Okay.
and I've been here 3 days, and everybody's sailing, and it's not something that is common yet, but
Okay.
let's see. It might be, knowing how motivated everybody is, how young the fleet is, and how stoked and whatever.
Yeah.
I see it.
Um,
Yeah.
Do you change trim between slalom and course racing? Yes.
Yeah, yeah. You tend to probably put your nose a little bit higher in slalom. There's a lot more. Mm, there's a lot more lift on the foil when you're going reaching. It obviously depends. If it's super light slalom that you're barely foiling, if there's a little bit of wind, we're supposed to do slalom until 15 knots, which very rarely happens. It's probably realistically more till 12.
Okay.
But um yeah, it's very personal too, like Nico would put his back straps back on for slalom, and some people move their base plates for slalom. Some people change the rakes of their foils. The guys that use big shims for course racing, they would use smaller shims for the back wing in slalom. Yeah,
Okay.
there's quite a bit, yeah, for sure.
So Nico takes his foot straps off for course racing.
Yeah, yeah, he doesn't, because on the upwind you don't really like, you want
Yeah,
to.
it's sitting there and
Yeah, he's just putting his foot wherever he wants, and downwind he doesn't use the back strap anyway, so what's the
okay.
point of having it? Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Here we go. Ivan Windsurfing says, interesting talking about weight of riders. I started IQFoil Youth when I was 58 kilos last year, and now I'm almost 70. I can feel the difference. It's crazy. Like when you have like gained weight, I've just lost a couple of kilos.
Yeah, you're
Yes.
looking good, mate.
I know I'm looking trim. No, but I'm not talking about windsurfing now because it's only a couple of kilos. But surfing, I notice it instantly how easy the board floats. And again, Matt Check will tell you. I mean, you've played with weight quite a bit, haven't you? You know, you've put on a few pounds, mate, over the years, and it does make a difference. When I did Luderitz, just putting a weight jacket on was just a massive eye opener to, that's a good point, actually. Is there any sneaky people doing any weighting? I always thought sticking weight in a harness might be a little, and you see people take it off and it just drops to the floor. And you're like, hello, what's going on here? Is there anybody doing any sneaky? Well, you obviously can't say.
Yeah, I
That's all.
I can say, yeah, there is, and there's
Okay.
a weighted harness, and there's rules and regulations for it. I mean, there's probably a couple people that do it legally and a couple that you know that don't, and whatever. But it's yeah, there's definitely, if there's people that definitely feel they can offset, let's say, what they didn't do in the gym, or didn't manage to gain yet, because
Okay.
they're on that road. So yeah, definitely weight is, it
So,
helps, but
so
you need to be able to have it agile. You need to be able to throw that weight around. You need to be able to tack. You need to be. I remember, like, when we did the first event was Europeans in 2020. The RSX were calling us like fat PWA whatever to our faces, um, and like some of them actually apologized because they're like, yeah, it's way harder to have any sort of endurance when you're 15, 20 kilo heavier.
yeah.
um so it's everybody's now like bulking, but some of the people actually admitted that maybe they went overboard. Maybe you know fat is also not the best idea. Maybe as opposed to muscle. you know so it's gonna reach some sort of conclusion where the weight is gonna be more, how you say,
You're gonna need to.
more known, let's say, because now everybody thinks, you know let's try to gain more, let's see where we are, but Nico's like 92 kilo, and he's
Yeah.
winning everything. So yeah, I don't see like 115 being the answer.
What's that saying you said? Velocity made good. You need one for weight. The whatever the optimum thing
Yeah,
is, height versus weight versus muscle versus fat versus they need this optimum. that you can carry. Okay, there's quite a few questions coming. I'm just going to whip through a few. Is the fin option dead in IQ class? Is there a fin option? I don't even know.
Was it ever alive? I mean, yeah, you get a fin when you buy the gear, and then you just leave it home or give it to a friend or whatever.
Okay, so yes, it's dead by the sounds of it. Listening to the voice of Maciek. How often do you need to sand and polish your wings?
You probably do it every day if you want to at a contest. This is another topic where the science is still still developing on how to finish the wings, whether you use some sort of coating, which is theoretically illegal but practically unpoliceable, if that's a word. Yeah, what kind of finish for what kind of water, because it obviously colder water is denser. Is that correct? Colder water, yeah, colder water is denser, warmer water is thinner. You have salt water, you have fresh water. So all these things are kind of still trial and error.
Yeah,
And there probably won't be, because the people that know, they won't share, so it's not going to be like common knowledge.
yeah.
um
I mean,
so
it's
yeah, so
interesting.
it's still.
I was going to say, interestingly, for people who don't know, I mean, I've been at a couple of the Worlds, the Europeans. A lot of the teams have got foil finishers. Just a dude or a woman, I don't know who, but who just is there to finish their foil. Is that legal? I mean, it obviously is, because they're there. And no, I don't.
Yeah,
And they
yeah. I mean, if you're using, I don't know, 8,000 grit sandpaper, it's not like you're changing the shape of the foil of the wing, right? You're finishing it, and yeah, I
allowed.
mean,
Finishing a foil is allowed.
eh, yeah, yeah. As long as you're not changing the profile, the shape, etc., that's allowed. Yeah.
Okay. I think someone's saying, Shannon saying, does he wear a GPS while testing? Do you test with a GPS? Is that like a benchmark, or do you just use it as a bit of extra information?
I use it as a bit of extra info. It's really hard in course racing, especially in slalom. It's a little bit easier because you're going crosswind and you feel that you're going crosswind. But in upwind, downwind, you can always just bear off and go faster upwind. Um, so you can measure your VMG on the watch, but it's test partner is always more reliable, because that your test partner is in the same lull and in the same gust.
Yeah,
It's not, eh, especially like a place like Garda, man, you can get so confused. It's so gusty.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an interesting one. Like I say, people tuning in. European starts in 6 days' time, and this everyone will be bringing their A game to the Europeans. It's usually a good way for the national governing body, who fund a lot of these riders, to get an idea of who's doing well in teams. I know the British team looks to have quite a few riders in the mix. I know last time in Silverplana, there was like 4 or 5 in the top 10 or something, and there's only so many places to get money, so it starts to get like you're in 10th, which is an amazing result, really, in a fleet like that. And maybe the funding is not as good because you've had other teammates in there. What strong nations are we seeing? What as a nation rather than individuals? Are we seeing nations that are strong in the
Yeah,
women?
France, Holland, UK will be the three that come to mind first. In Holland, not so much on the women's side, but on the male side, definitely. And yeah, France in both, UK in both as well. We have Polish have a strong, very strong woman, Maja Jarnowska.
She just
You
won,
know,
didn't she?
she came second
Okay.
in year. Yeah, and hopefully I'll climb there. I didn't really have a podium or whatever. Finished 7th in Lanzarote, 4th in year. Not Europeans or whatever, but it's getting there, maybe slowly. Let's see. Let's see now. I
Yeah,
guess that's the benchmark.
it's an interesting
So
topic. Well, we haven't talked too much about you. You've given us a lot of information. How are you feeling on it? Like, obviously you're still a PWA rider. You're still sponsored by FMX Racing, Challenger Sales. Is that still your main one? Is the IQFoil creeping in? Is it what percentage would you give it at the moment?
I try not to think about it really. I mean, right now I'm preparing for an event and I'm 100% focused on that, and it doesn't really make sense to just, you know, like think about PWA when you're doing IQ and vice versa. But I'm definitely, I'm on the national team for Poland, but at the same time, if I wasn't doing PWA, I wouldn't be able to do the Olympic thing. I'm kind of financing the Olympic thing from my professional contracts, as well as the Polish Federation. So,
Right.
so if you have to pick one, you go with with PWA, but due to financials and whatever. But they're both exciting and they're both very very different. The mindset of the people involved is totally like on different planets, and maybe therefore they were so apart for so many years.
Yeah.
um and yeah, and what was the
Do you think?
question? What are Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, do you think doing the Olympic side of it and mixing with that mentality, different? There's definitely a different mentality there. Do you think it's helped your mentality? Do you know what I mean? Is that a fair question?
Yeah, I think what it helped me also is to just be on the water more, be fitter, be yeah, mentally stronger, because you put up with a lot of shit in this Olympic stuff. Um, it's not like you stop and the race is gonna get canceled. No, not only it's not gonna get canceled, you're also gonna get laughed at for being fat and lazy and whatever. Um, so it's different. It's totally different, and but it's they're both fun. They complement each other really well, because I take
Right.
my gear approach from PWA, which is superior to IQ. Then I take probably the physical side of IQ into PWA, which again, it's eh, so you can gain
Yeah.
quite a lot, and it gives me motivation to be on the water, like um at least
Every time
two
I speak
or
to you,
three
you're
days
doing
or
something. I've got to be
yeah.
honest. You are a busy boy. You're either down the gym, on the water training, doing something out. Like you at an event, at another event, training, flying here, driving there. I'm like, oh my god! Like it's kind of crazy. Obviously, and doing the podcast, which links us to this comment I've just had from Christoph. He said, outside of this topic, he said, when you're speaking, interviewing the legends, ask them what their gold gear was, like their magic stuff, because usually everyone's had that magic stuff over the years. And maybe just while we're on the podcast thing, do we have any ideas who's coming up? I did hear Ian Boyd. Ian Boyd was one of my childhood heroes in like an underground kind of, like when you look into Ian Boyd and you watch some of his videos, you realize of how much of a legend that dude was. And I have
Yeah,
heard he's
I was
somewhere.
just watching Northbound
Yeah,
just a couple of days ago. Those are really stressful for me, because I it's the generation before my idols, let's say.
yeah,
I grew up with, Cisco Goya and Polakau and
the
these
stoner.
guys. So yeah, Stoner and so so I feel a little bit, unprepared, and then I need to dig deeper, and I need to, research, and I need to ask you, and I need to call around and whatever. So that's challenging and exciting, and sometimes it comes off like you see me nervous or hear me or whatever, or like or have maybe too much respect for Bjorn giving me one liners, so um
You did very well to navigate that. Okay, just a couple more questions. We'll round it out. We've got Thomas saying, "Is wing foiling the future?" Not much wing foiling.
ramblings about it, getting into Olympics as well. um I don't know. I think if you're an expert windsurfer, it's really hard to 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 like just convert to winging, because it's kind of almost like a you know
An optimist
diff-
versus
different version, not to say worse version.
yeah.
But for yeah, I like the freestyling part of wing foiling, because I can't freestyle much in with with windsurfing. I'm pretty bad
Yeah.
at it, and with wing foiling, I can do some stuff, so that's fun.
I was thinking about it the other day because a lot of people have been asking me this very question. I thought, I think it is going to be the light wind alternative, I will say, and flat water alternative for the wave sailor. The mad keen wave sailor who's not interested in slalom, he's not interested in free ride, but they want this lower wind, maybe not so good conditions option. I think that's where that's going to fit. Freestyle foil is going to just totally lose out to
Yeah,
winging.
but
Like,
it's but
in my
it's fun from like 14, 15 knots upwards, right? So is
yeah,
it really that light wind? This is
I
what I
don't
was thinking at the beginning,
know. We get wind here, for example, in Portugal. I'm going a little bit off topic, but and it's not good for wave sailing. The waves are not so good, or it's flat on the beach, but there's an offshore breeze of 12 knots, and we get a lot of 12 knots, and 12 knots wave sailing is pathetic, really. So I've got all the toys, and I haven't done much winging. I'm not like a big wing convert, but I can see why people would go down that route. I can really see that, but I don't think it will take the windy stuff if you're already a windsurfer. That's what I would think. I think it will nick some people from kiting because you haven't got the lines. But I don't think, like, if you're talking about doing long distances, like and racing on a foil, I think the wind foiling is still the best for that. I like the short track racing that they're doing, but I think if you're just a normal guy and you want to go from here to there and go cruising, the wind stuff is really nice. You're hooked into the harness. It's like a really top level racing experience. I'd be interested
Yeah,
to see.
I would invite every kin winger to try like a good set of windsurf foiling gear, because
Yeah,
they might get hooked. Um, at the same time, like I get it, winging you pack it in the, you pack it in your trunk of your freaking Mini
yeah.
Cooper, or whatever, and I get that part of it, and it's easy. You pump it up, the range is huge. And it's fun, whatever floats your boat. Yeah.
Noah Angulo, son of a famous man. That one. I've got a good video of you, mate. He's coming up on Sunday. He says, "How dangerous is it crashing in a race?" And I have often thought this. Just for example, Silver Plana round the windward mark. It looks just terrifying, absolutely terrifying. If you go down there, surely there's just a massive chance of you getting absolutely axed.
Luckily, when you catapult, you fall onto the other side of the gear, right? So
Okay,
in between the person coming and yourself, there's the gear.
okay,
Um, it's dangerous in terms of you're gonna break gear if you crash with someone. That's for sure. Which fucking sucks. But at the end of the day, it's not the worst thing in the world. Um, stuff happens. I crashed starboard port um, in Yare. This time I was on starboard, um, and I got hit in my leg, but it was nothing. You just you walk it off, and you keep racing. We're not AC boats. We're not doing 50 knots. Um, I I don't know. I think it's still relatively on the safe side for how it looks, for what it is. And this is what you want, right? You want nasty looking freaking crashes and stuff for, to get your views and for it to be safe. Yeah.
yeah, we do.
Definitely
Needs green.
slalom foiling is definitely way more dangerous. It's just so violent, the crashes, the whiplashes you get on your neck. Enrico Marotti is wearing like a car racing neck brace, and it's unexpected too, because the wings are so small that the reaction times are much faster, and everything happens faster because you're going faster, and you're pushing on the limit, because otherwise you're not really going. In IQFoil, once there is 12 knots, you're going upwind downwind, and
Yeah,
downwind is never um
it's
yeah,
critical.
downwind in 20 knots is critical, but upwind, it's everybody and their mother is able to go upwind on an IQ foil gear.
I,
um downwind, yeah, it's a little tricky, but you can always sheet out whatever, you know. Slalom foiling, it's yeah, it's that's violent. That's violent, and there, unfortunately, it might get
When
slightly
are we
dangerous.
when are we going to see the PWA? When's the first event racing wise?
There's Croatia and
Croatia.
there's Fuerte. Croatia is going to be a 3-star, I believe. So that's not, unfortunately, not streamed, but we're going to see some footage out of there. And then Fuerte is the one where you're going to get dropped straight into what I've just been talking about, because it's going to be some foiling and some fin, which is also pretty tricky.
Okay,
Um,
I'm going to just ask you a question now while we're talking about it, because again, we're talking about IQ4, but stuff has changed, I'm guessing, with the PWA stuff. So obviously,
yeah.
foil versus fin. Has the gap been, I know the answer to this a little bit, but how much has the gap been closed? And what are the win differences between foil and fin? Obviously, we saw Israel last year. Nico Goya kind of put it on, but it was a gusty, shifty place. Has it moved over the winter? Where are we sitting on PWA stuff? What are you going down to on your foil now?
Yeah, if it's moved, it's moved to the foil advantage.
Yeah.
Because everybody learned to use smaller gear. The small gear got better. Nobody, probably aside of besides Nico, was really prepared for what we got in Israel. That was pretty extreme in terms of gusty and whatever, but it also showed the way. And right now, probably up to 25 knots, you're foiling. You need to
So
be.
further, give me an idea of your kit.
I'm bringing at least my small foil board, which is 85 wide, at least 2 or 3 foil sails, and then my small board, my small fin board, and 2 fin sails. So
Oh,
if it's
that's just small slalom.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
because Fuerte, when it gets to medium board, it's really holy, and you can't, if you're racing against the foil, you can't on a fin, and you're on a fin, you can't. If you have to pump out of the jibe, that's it. That's done. You need to power through the jibe. You need to be fully powered all the way. There's absolutely no chance if you stop your so. And then it's also safer to be on the foil, because you might not have the same top speed, but you're never gonna stop. You're never gonna get stuck. It's never gonna be too upwind or too downwind for you. Um, so yeah,
Interesting.
so Fuerte is gonna be a really good showcase, and the smallest foils are gonna be in use, which guarantee you a show, because sometimes those things, man, you hit a gust,
Good night.
it's
Yeah.
it's a handful.
Oh, that's interesting. You're only taking your small slalom board. Jesus. Okay, so things has definitely changed. Okay, one last question. We're going to talk about race formats. IQFoil have been experimenting, as far as I know. It's not fixed what they're going to do for the Olympics, but they've been experimenting with
No,
the.
actually, the Olympics is fixed.
It's fixed. It's going to be a final.
Yeah, for the
Okay.
Olympics, it's fixed, and
Okay,
there's
so just let me just explain. So for people who don't know, the way the IQ for Olympic class works is they, to make it easy, they do kind of a qualifying the whole week, and then the top 10 then fight it out in it's a knockout. And then they've been experimenting with how they do that it's a knockout stage. Maybe you can tell me exactly what they've been experimenting with and what the feedback is like, from the riders, from the coaches, from the people watching. I can definitely give you my idea on that.
Yeah, so currently the last few events we've done, it's been, yeah, as you said, probably 5 days of qualifying, and then the top 10 goes into the final series. In the final series, the first guy is seeded straight into a 3-man final, so he can't come out without a medal, so he's protected in that way. Numbers 2 and 3 are seeded into the semifinal, which I believe is 5 men. And then from 10th till 4th, those guys, they go against each other, and 3 of those go through to the semi.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, so theoretically you can win from 10th.
Yeah.
Uh, Practically, it's it's a lot harder. And obviously that format is to bring to bring somebody that's not a sailor, not a windsurfer, not to understand it. You have Usain Bolt running the 100-man final, the 100 meter dash final. He wins, he's the gold medalist, and this is what this idea is about. Of course there's a huge pushback, especially from older, I don't know, statesmen, let's say, that been around sailing, that are kind of, they like the traditional way it's been done, that it's not fair to prepare for 4 years and then, maybe lose a medal on a on a fluke gust or whatever. But you know
What do you think? What's your opinion?
it's the same for everybody, isn't it?
I mean, I genuinely, obviously, I'm a commentator, so it's a bit different. But when I've done the commentating in Silver Planner, when they've done it, I thought it's some of the most exciting racing, and that didn't even have conditions. It's frustrating for a few riders, I guess. But and also in my experience, weirdly, the guys and girls that have been winning all week ended up winning. So there is a very good chance they're going to still win, but it just adds this little bit, and that's what makes it nervous. That's what brings out the emotions. Again, you're toying with people who have their life depends on it, but I think it just needs to be the governing bodies who pay the money. All these people that pay the money need to judge the riders off how they're doing rather than that final result. If that's
Yeah.
what they're worried about,
Yeah.
because that definitely makes it exciting. Like you could feel the nerves, because you're like, this guy should win, but he might not. And
Look,
it's now
the livelihood, putting the livelihood on that one result, yeah, okay, it is that way right now. But at the same time, even the ones that win, I don't see them rocking up with Ferraris and McLarens to the event. So something's definitely wrong.
yes,
And what is actually wrong is that an Olympic sport doesn't necessarily need to be only about the Olympics.
yeah,
Um, and if you make the sport exciting, it's gonna be exciting all the time, not only in
yeah,
the freaking Olympics.
yeah.
So let's do that, and then everybody eats. Yeah, of course, it's
I
still
like
gonna
the
be the
format.
goal.
I
It's
like the
still gonna
format
be the
where,
goal to win an Olympic gold. That's never
yeah,
out
yeah,
of. But why are we in this situation where if you came fourth in the Olympics, you're a failure? The fuck? That's a great
yeah,
result. That's
yeah,
that's
yeah.
like,
It is.
so
I'm going to say I like it where the guy who's qualifying first gets a medal. I think this for me is a very, you guarantee a medal if you win the qualification. I think that's very good, you know. But then there's this just added little bit, and all the story I get from a media person is in one race. You can tell the story. You can say this guy's been, he's been smashing the qualifier. This girl's been leading all week. She's won every race. Now she's guaranteed a medal, but what medal will it be? She could lose out bronze. It wouldn't be fair, but and you can really build it. Everyone watches the whole story in these three races or whatever it is unfold, so they know exactly. Whereas in our format at the moment, there's too much going on, and I know from a media point of view, it's very hard to tell all these stories unless you're super into the sport, which closes it down to the mass population. So, like you say, why does there's lots of place in the world for world rankings, the best in the world. Let's say Nico Goyo being the best in the world for 4 years, that's totally fine, but it doesn't mean he's going to get an Olympic medal. But everyone will know he's the best in the world, but he just didn't get the Olympic medal. Not to say he won't get the Olympic medal, but you know what I mean? We have to look at it different because it is the
and
biggest show.
I tell you what, it's just a matter of perspective. Like Mateus, Isaac, and Marion Mortefon, they went from like 9th and 10th to 2nd in Lanzarote, and they love the format. And the guys that lost out hate the format, and it's just so bad to see from the outside, from perspective, that it's just, there's a bias involved and whatever. But if you really really get the perspective, it's only beneficial to everyone, you know. And actually, as a sailor, as an athlete, maybe more, it's I don't know, being in those situations is just always exciting, no matter what. Anytime I had any sort of showdown, win or lose, it was fun to be a part of it, you know. And I think this should be the overriding thing, you know. Let's not be about, you know, squeezing half a point here, 2 points there, half a point there. It's just fucking go for it. And maybe that's my mentality, and maybe not everybody sees it that way, you know, but I like it. I think if you're worthy of that result, then go show it, and show it that you're clutch, that you're, you know, that you can deliver, no matter what the conditions are. And
I mean, so far it's pretty much worked in terms of the top guys and girls, from what I've seen. But it's been super exciting. Okay, I think we can wrap it up there. There's plenty more to talk about, but Europeans start in 6 days' time. Good luck, mate.
Appreciate it.
Maybe we'll get some updates. So we'll try and do a little bit of update to see what's going on. Is there going to be a live stream? I have no clue.
I don't think so. Yeah.
It's a shame because that racing format just suits itself to live stream, even if they just live stream the last race, you know, the last day. But anyway, look forward to seeing the videos and stuff. And I'm looking forward to seeing the next podcast. Was it North Sales? I think we've got coming up next week.
Yeah, we got a good one. Yeah, fun.
Okay. All right, dude. Take it easy. Enjoy. I would say something Italian now, but I haven't got anything.
Grazie. Gelato. Pizza, gelato, pasta.
Okay, so there you go. Maciej Rakowski, thank you very much for that. If you do enjoy the podcast, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Yes, you can listen to the audio only if you don't want to see our ugly mugs on here. That's not a problem. And if you want to chip in some beer money, keep the channel going and there's some competitions. We do have a big F2 competition coming up. I spoke to the main man today. He's giving away 2 boards now. We're giving away a custom and a production board. It's going to be a competition on Instagram, competition on YouTube. The winners of both go into a hat, and then we draw to see who gets the custom board and who gets the production board. So that is coming up on the channel. We've just done the body drag video, which will be out soon. It's all ready to go. I'm just trying to find the Ian Boyd down the wave body drag, and then we'll put that online. But that is it. Thank you for joining us. Let us know if you like the live podcast. I know we're never going to get massive numbers, me chopping on for about an hour and a half, but maybe it might be a thing, even for the legends, if we can, like, you know, kind of tee that up. Imagine having Robbie Nash live and you can ask questions. Could be pretty cool. So also let us know in the comments, and we'll see you for the next one.